Hey, my name is Kaleb Crabtree, and I'm so glad that you decided to click on this video. This is a message from our youth group this past Sunday night that we call Grace Student. I pray that God uses it specifically in your life to touch your heart and to move you forward in faith. So enjoy it.
In life, we will meet resistance, which can leave us feeling worn down and worn out. But we can find a reason to keep going. Show up, push through, and never give up.
All right, how are we doing? Ah, I love hearing you guys worship. I'm going to start with that right now. It's a powerful thing hearing you guys lift your names up and just praise God. Sitting in the back is a privilege for me to be here to do that. I'd like to start out just thank you, Kaleb, for letting me come up here and preach a little bit, open God's word. I want you guys to all give a round of applause, though, to the people in the sound booth. If you've ever done that, little unsung heroes back there keeping us on track. I'm excited tonight. I'll be honest. This is a privilege, and I'm humbled to be up here to get a chance to break open God's word with you all tonight and just kind of share a little bit about me, share a little bit about of our new series, the Never Give Up series. But before I do that, if you'd allow me to just go ahead, bow your heads with me, and we're going to go into a little prayer. Dear Lord, just thank you for this night. Thank you for the games. Thank you for the worship. Thank you for these kids, Lord, that are here willingly on their own to just learn more about you and want to grow their relationship with you, Lord. I just pray that you allow their hearts to be open, allow these words to be clear, and that you would just bless our night and allow us to just focus on you in this time of meeting. In your name, amen. So obviously I'm the new guy on the block, and I did come out from California. A lot of people, when I say I came from California, I get the little head tilt like, why are you here? So I grew up, I was born and raised California. My wife's family lives in Ohio, so we visited here a lot and always loved it out here. I got a couple photos of where I came from. So that's the lake that was right outside, about a 2-minute walk from my house. And it's beautiful, right? And then the next photo is, that's wintertime. So the other question I get when people found out I'm from California, they're like, "We'll wait for the winters." My annual average snowfall was around 28 feet, so I kept waiting for winter to show up here, and I never saw it. So that place, that's Hume Lake. It's a Christian camp, kind of like what some of you guys went to this summer. We did camp 365 days a year. We lived up there. We did work there. During the summer, they just finished their summer season, and they would do about 2,500 students a week. So that's a lot of food, a lot of cleaning, a lot of maintenance work that we did there. Born and raised there, so I was working out there since I was like 11, and it was a blessing for me. That's where I met my wife. And then my next slide, so that's us, like 2 days before we moved out here. Fun fact, that mountain area, that canyon, is actually deeper than the Grand Canyon. A lot of people don't know that, but the Sierra Nevada mountains range from up to 14,000 feet. So where we lived, we're around 6,000 feet. So it's my wife, Alexandria. Makes me the luckiest man alive. I don't know if she would agree with that I make her the luckiest woman, but I got the better end of that deal. And then some of you have probably gotten to meet my kids. You got Trey on the right, in the middle is Grant, and then Carson. And currently they are in Missouri at the Lake of the Ozarks having a blast. I'm not here. I'm right here. But I'm grateful to be here. And just the last two messages, we've been talking about resilience. And if you guys were here for some of those, do you guys remember anything about what we've learned about resilience or what it meant? Not everyone at once. Jacob. It's all good. That's why you bring your phones right there. That's why you bring your phone. Notes. There you go. That's awesome. So some of the things we've been talking about, the ability to keep going even when things get hard, showing up to face difficult things in life rather than running away, knowing you're going to be okay even when things don't turn out the way you hoped, choosing to never give up. Resilience is our ability to bounce back and grow stronger after we have struggled, failed, faced hard stuff in our life. And I think the verse that we looked at last week was John 16:33. And I've actually been like kind of meditating on that verse a little bit. I have told you all this and may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will face many trials, but take heart because I have overcome the world. And for me, when I'm studying scriptures, I'll tend to go into different translations just to try to get more out of it. And so I read it real quick out of the Message, and this is what it says. I've told you all this so that trusting me, you will be unshakable and assured deeply at peace. In this godless world, you will continue to experience difficulties, but take heart, I have conquered the world. And for me, when I hear that translation, that kind of stuff kind of gets me fired up, because it's like, you will be unshakable and assured deeply at peace. And for me, coming in, I left everything I knew in California, moved out here to Ohio, Northeast Ohio, and I see bumper stickers everywhere, stuck in Ohio and all this stuff. And it's really about perspective. And God, along the whole way while we were traveling, and once we decided that God had us coming to Ohio, that type of peace is what he is talking about here, is just an unshakable and assured. We didn't know what we were to experience when we got here, but we knew God was having us come here. And there was so much peace in that for us. So hopefully tonight, as we talk more about resilience, what's it mean specifically for you today, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you think most things are better in life with friends? Show of hands. That's about 98% of the people. I think some things in life are just better that way. And then when you experience them by yourself, it's kind of different. So I came up with a couple of things. Have you ever tried FaceTiming alone? Exactly. It's not exactly what you would think you'd get out of it. What about, gotta admit, I used to have a TikTok. I got out of TikTok. But if you did a TikTok duet with someone with no one else on the other side of the screen, not going to be the same, right? You kind of need someone else on to do a duet. For me personally, I enjoy bowling, golfing. But if you've ever done any of those things by yourself, and the end of it, all you're doing is rolling a ball at these sticks, trying to get a score, and then you're just getting frustrated and throwing it harder. So it's more fun when you got people there to laugh with, high five, whatever. So tonight, we're just going to kind of go in and learn a little bit more about resilience. So we all know some things can't be done alone. But here's what I think is interesting. Even though we know it, we don't always live like it's true. For one reason or another, many of us go through life alone. You probably heard this at school, online, or people talking about loneliness in the world today. So I looked it up. Loneliness is the state of being alone and feeling sad about it. Your loneliness might lead you to sit at home listening to depressing songs, or it could inspire you to go out and meet other people. You can be alone and enjoy every minute of it. But from time to time, most of us experience loneliness. It is a feeling of sadness or even anxiety that occurs when you want company. On the other hand, it is possible to feel loneliness in a crowd, especially if you aren't interacting with others. And coming off of this weekend is kind of interesting with my family being in the Ozarks. I've been experiencing a little bit of loneliness because now I get home, I open the door, and it's nothing. So experiencing that loneliness, you have two options. You can either turn on Taylor Swift and listen to depressing music, or you can interact with other people. It actually led me to being able to call some other friends that I haven't talked to since I've left California, and had some really deep conversations with some people that God's put on my heart. And sometimes I think of them, and that's all I do is I just kind of think of them. And then there's sometimes where when you actually pursue it and put action to it, there's some stuff that just comes out of a conversation that you weren't intending for, but has just kind of opened my eyes, especially when I was reading into this a little bit. There's the two coin flips, and like I said, you can be alone and enjoy it, and that can be a good time of season for you. Maybe that's a good time for you to reflect and listen to what God has for you in that season. But then you don't want to sit in that pocket and allow yourself to kind of just shut off, you know. So if you have, then you know it's really a real thing. In fact, according to a recent study, it says as many 3 out of 5 people you see on a daily basis say they're lonely. And when I saw that, I made sure I searched it up, right? Because it's just like, how is 3 out of 5 people say they're lonely? I mean, see this crowded room, there's like 30, 40 of us in here, but some of us are going to be experiencing loneliness. I know I can raise my hand to that one. But if you take a room of 30 people, that's 20 people on a daily basis are feeling lonely. So that means the majority of us feel like we're walking through life alone. We're trying to get through all stressful events and difficult circumstances and hard days by ourselves. And nothing about that's easy, but I think part of the problem is that we think we have to do it all on our own. And I think that's why many of us tend to pull away when life gets tough. And all these are things that I know to be true in my life. As guys, there's usually a thing in our brain that's a fixer. So the moment there's an issue, we want to fix it. When my kids have something broken, I want to fix it. When my wife says, hey, I want to fix it. And sometimes that's not actually what we're supposed to do. Sometimes my wife, when she says, hey, this is broken, and she'll explain to me what's going on, I want to just fix it. And that's not what she's wanting. She's wanting me just to listen. She's wanting me just to interact and understand where she's coming from, and that I'm listening. When things get hard, when hard things happen, we feel like we have to figure them out on our own. So we pull away from people who might be able to help us prove we can do it and alone, or because we don't want to be a burden. We think everyone else, their own lives have to deal with. Why would they care about ours? So we pull back thinking no one would want to know. We hold things back from other people. Maybe we start hiding the stuff that's hard or difficult in our lives from people closest to us. We don't open up to our small group or our friends or our parents. We think admitting things are difficult might make us look like we don't have it all together. We're afraid to show the world we just don't want to we're afraid to show the world we just don't have what it takes. And that one resonates me with a lot. I want to show people I have it all under control. I want to show up, make it look like my life's pristine, and that's not the case. And in the world right now with like social media and different stuff like that, we tend to try to push what we want people to think our lives is looking like, and on the inside, it's the complete opposite. And that's a thing that I am guilty of. I tend to want to always just kind of pull back, but I'm also the guy when someone has an issue and I just hear about it, I want to come out and help them. Is there any of you kind of resonate with that, where you understand there's an issue? Yeah, I want to come help. Well, in the same token, then you need to be the same person that when you need help, you raise that hand and be like, hey, I kind of need help in this area. And I think in a place like this too, this is a safe place right here. I'm blown away by just how open some of our conversation is in our small groups with all the high school guys. It's been really kind of eye-opening for me, and makes me excited to come back every Sunday, just because I know we're going to have a solid conversation. And we're going to be able to challenge each other and go about our week. And I think that's what's important about coming consistently to student night, not youth group, student night. I got it. Come in consistently, because that's how you're going to build yourself up. When it says iron sharpens iron, well, the reason why you're having to continue sharpening it, if you've ever had a knife, the more you use it, the duller it gets. So you come in Sunday, you're on fire. You go Monday, you get worn down. Tuesday, you get worn down. Wednesday, you get worn down, to where the weekend, you might be all worn out, come back, get sharpened up again. So I think it's important about the consistency coming back here. And so we have to solve our own problems. We have to make it without help of others. We have to rely on only one person, ourselves. I know I felt that way before. Maybe you have too, and I don't know about you. But as much as I might believe all of those things are best or true, holding back from other people, pulling away from people, and relying on myself oftentimes just makes things harder. And I can speak on that. Anyone here like mechanical or likes working on like their cars or motorcycles or anything? Only a couple people. It's a talent. It's a skill you guys should really learn. And with YouTube, you can pretty much fix an airplane on that thing. So For me, working as a mechanic at that camp, I was a mechanic there for 3 years, and there were some oftentimes problems where my boss, who'd been working on cars for 40 plus years, he'd be struggling on a problem. I could come over 2 minutes and be like, "Oh, hey, I got that in there for you," and he'd just look at me like, "How did you do that?" And it'd be one of those things. Sometimes the person needs to get just pulled away from the issue. Someone else can come in and be like, "Hey, have you thought of this?" And just gives you that little bit of information. And sometimes I know for me, I'm hard headed. It could be the same thing. Maybe my dad's told me, my wife's told me, and then all of a sudden the third person comes along and says the same thing, and I'm like, I get it. That makes sense now. And so it's about just coming through and understanding like you don't have to do this on your own. And if there's ever a time or place to open up and allow people into your lives, this is the place to be doing it. I know for myself, for all the leaders here, like that's why we're here. That's why we come every Sunday. We've all. It's hard to believe at 35 that I used to be your guys' ages, but it's a true thing. And the thing that I think I can say freely for all the leaders here, that's why we come back, because we understand we've been there. All the circumstances are different, but maybe we can shed a little bit of light to the different issues that you might be facing. So it makes us feel a little more lonely. It does the opposite to build resilience and help us find a reason to move forward. It can make us feel stuck. In other words, it isn't really working for us. So what if the way to build resilience didn't have to do with us, but what we put into it? What if the key to getting through difficult times and choosing hope when things seem hopeless in our lives let me start that again. What if the key to getting through difficult times and choosing hope when things seem hopeless in our own lives had something to do with people we invite into the process with us? What if resilience isn't something you can build by yourself? Today we're going to look through a story in the New Testament involving Paul, and we're just going to see what Jesus changes it, how Jesus changed that perspective of using other people. So let me find my spot. So life during and after Jesus lived on earth. See here we believe that knowing Jesus changes everything. That's why when we struggle with certain thoughts or ideas in life, we like to look back on words and experiences of Jesus and people who were transformed by Jesus to help us see how knowing Jesus today can affect our lives. Today we're actually going to talk about a guy whose entire life changed because of Jesus. His name was Paul, and everyone know who Paul was? No? Okay. We got some work to do, Caleb. They didn't know Paul. So his name was Paul, and he was one of the most famous and influential Christians to ever lived. He started many first Christian churches, helped train other leaders to continue sharing Jesus' message with the world, and wrote most of the letters that you know into the New Testament today. Early in his day at starting churches, Paul worked alongside some of his friends, Barnabas and Silas, and a guy named Mark. And these were early Christians who helped spread the good news about Jesus, which was a huge mission. So they all knew working together was key. But at one point, Paul and his friend Barnabas kind of got into a little bit of an argument, and Paul was annoyed that their friend Mark, who bailed on him during one of their trips, was when he told Barnabas about his frustrations. Barnabas wasn't as understanding. Why? Because Mark was actually Barnabas' cousin, which I'll be honest, I didn't know. Mark was actually his cousin, so when Paul wanted to tell Mark he couldn't keep traveling with him after he bailed, Barnabas didn't like the idea. He didn't just want to leave his cousin behind. Paul and Barnabas just couldn't agree, so they ended up going their separate ways. As time has passed, Paul found himself in a pretty difficult spot. He was actually put in jail, telling others about Jesus. Paul could have given in right then and there, and who would have blamed him? He was in jail and alone, but Paul doesn't give up so easily. He actually wrote a letter to one of his friends named Timothy, and in that letter there was a small sentence that tells us what Paul did instead. And it's a little snippet, but it's in 2 Timothy 4:11, and it basically says, "Get Mark and bring him with me because he is helpful to me in my ministry." And that's Paul writing to Timothy. I know it's simple to miss, but in this letter, Timothy, Paul asked for Mark to come along, the very guy he refused to bring with him in years before, the guy who bailed, the guy who didn't think he could be any more help for him. We don't know exactly what's going through Paul's mind. He doesn't write it out, but it seems like Paul came to realize, whether through circumstances or through Mark's own actions, that we need the help of other people. See, Paul on the mission literally and was trying to share the message of Jesus to as many people as he could. And he cared so much about that mission that he didn't let the pride or self-reliance get in the way. Maybe he even knew that without others, we are more likely to quit on the mission. And maybe in your case, it could be that other people help you pass that test, or deal with your anxiety, or navigate the loss of someone you love, or even grow in your faith. Our circumstances may look different from Paul's, but the point is the same. Letting other people in to help us is actually one of the ways we can build resilience. That's why I want you to remember this. Never give up on others. No matter how difficult it can be to ask for help, to let people in. No matter if we've grown up thinking life is supposed to be all about me, no matter how many times we thought that's only up to us if we go through it, and it's only a time of life. If we want to keep going, keep growing, keep developing resilience, we need to never give up on others. Just to be clear, we aren't talking about situations or relationships where others are harming us, or others in any other way. Not giving up on others does not mean staying in a situation or relationship where you are unsafe. And if you are in a relationship where that is the case, or where you aren't sure that is the case, talk to a small group leader or another trusted adult who can help you. What we are talking about today is choosing not to give up on others because we think we are better off alone. We can do things by ourselves, and we don't think we need to help others to help us. What Paul did with Mark was give him another chance, because he knew there was more on the line than pride. Paul cared more about the gospel than he did about past mistakes, so he didn't give up on Mark. And as I was reading through this and understanding kind of the dynamic between Paul and Mark, I resonated with myself with Mark. At the camp, we had a little volunteer fire department there where I got to serve as an engineer for like 12 years. And I had it in 2 stints where I worked there for 7 years and then retired and kind of got put on what we call it the back wall. Means you didn't get a radio or a pager, but you showed up if everything was on fire. But basically, what my captain told me, or my chief told me at that time, when I left on a really bad foot and a really selfish foot. And the guy that left, there was no chance like my chief was ever going to do anything with me again. And so after a couple years, I realized that was something I wanted to get back into, but I knew I had to get through with my chief. And I went up to him and, told him, hey, I know I quit and I gave up on this, but all I'm asking is for another shot. Put me where you think you want me. And so as a couple months passed on, he saw my consistency coming and started training for my engineer's test, started getting my EMT and all this stuff. One of the things that he comes back and told me, after another 4 years working with him, and as I told him, I was quitting again the fire department, but to move out here, was one of the things that impacted me the most was basically he looked right at me and just said, the guy that left the first time, I can't even see in you now. And for me, that was a huge deal because I understood what he meant, because I was a knucklehead the first 7 years. I knew it all. You couldn't tell me different. I was going to do it my way. And through that, God kind of broke me down, and I did a lot of maturing through those years. And when I came back to have that, my chief, the guy that has all the experience and all the knowledge, to come back and just be like, who that was and who you are now. He's like, his thing was, I would have never hired that guy, but this guy I'll hire. And so that was a big deal for me. And so I resonate with Mark in the fact that, I could understand Paul writing this letter and being like, hey, go give this to Mark because I need his help in the ministry. And Mark just sitting there, and I if I was in Mark's position, I would just been like blown away to be like, oh my gosh, like Paul's asked me to come back in. Like, all right, let's go, let's do this. So the thing is, a lot of us grew up thinking it was a sign of strength to deal with our life on our own. Or we have grown up feeling alone, not sure what good other people can bring us. So it's important for us to know that exactly refusing to give up on other people and what it can do for us. So a couple more questions I have for you. I don't think I put slides for these. They help us grow. There's only so much we know or experience on our own. And other people bring their experience and knowledge to give us a larger perspective. They help us know things about ourselves, the world, and God that we wouldn't have known without them. Other people make the world bigger. They help us to see the good when life gets tough. Sometimes there's nothing better than a friend who will remind us all the good things that's happened around us. Their perspective helps us keep going when we want to give up. The opposite is true too. We help our friends stay positive when they want to give up. Friendships help us become more resilient. And so they provide the support we need. Sometimes all we need is someone to lean on. We need someone to laugh with, cry with, talk to. We need to know that someone is out there. Sorry. You know this because your friends need this from you sometimes too. Part of building resilience is becoming more emotionally and mentally healthy. When we have people around us to support us through the ups and downs of life, they might encourage us in the process of our emotions in healthy ways, or even to get professional help from a counselor. And all this leads to a healthier and more resilient version of ourselves. So, what can we begin to do to start allowing others to help us? Here are a few questions to get you started. What is happening? Maybe you're beginning to realize just how much you keep from other people. Or maybe you're noticing that you don't have someone you're comfortable really opening it up to. And I know in a room where you look at and, could be your best friend, there could be things that you're not talking to them about. And that's okay, but you need to find a group of people that you can open up to. For me, it was a hard thing because we're all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God, Romans 3:23. So for me, there's always that expectation of, if I open up to someone that knows I'm a believer, what are they going to think of me? Well, hopefully they're going to think and understand you're a sinner and I'm a sinner. So let's go through this together. And they're going to have an issue that they might come up to you with, and you should have the same humbleness to understand they're opening up to you. So I'm going to listen, and I'm not going to judge them, but I'm going to lead them back to the word and understand that this is what we're supposed to do in life. All the way back in Genesis, God created Eve for Adam because he needed a helper. He couldn't do this on his own. And in life is still sticks true. So just take some time to recognize what's really happening when it comes to relationships, and look at your friends, look at your parents, look at the group here, and just start looking at the people and seeing if you have those relationships, and if not, start building them. There's never time too late. That you don't want to keep pushing on and go, oh, I'm going to talk to him next week. We're not guaranteed a next week. Start today. So start by getting real about where you currently are and when it comes to letting other people in. Next question is, what is true no matter what? So many messages around you will tell you that you can figure out life on your alone, and it's not true. We need other people if someone else is influential, as Paul needed help with someone else. Safe to say we all do. So remind yourself that this truth, it's okay to need other people. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to lean on the ones who love and care about you in life. Their help might be in the very thing that helps you become more resilient. So what can you do? It's time to get to work. It might be awkward and it might be uncomfortable, but we have to reach out to other people. We have to take a step forward, letting others in. Maybe it's a trusted friend or a small group leader or a parent, but start by sharing what the ups and downs are you're facing in life. Then ask for the perspective on what you can learn and how you can grow and what you can do to keep going, even when you want to give up. And so I'm just going to finish with this, is just understanding we're all humans. We all make mistakes. But I think the point of this is not giving up, is understanding that we have the next day. A friend of mine once said, we all have that aspiration of the guy that we want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is. So what are you doing today to be 1% closer to the guy that you want or girl that you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? So remember, never giving up on others, because having other people to support you and walk with you through life can make a difference in your life. It can help you be more resilient, not just today, but in the future. That's why I think God gives us people to help us along the way. In fact, that's exactly why we have small group here. There's a safe space for you to share your own struggles with a group of people who want to help you face them with resilience. So you will have to consider opening them up today. And so that's kind of my message of not giving up and understanding we need other people in our lives. You can't just shut them off. You can't push them out. If you're hurting and you need someone, We have all of our small group leaders here. We got even your, if you're a freshman, look at the seniors. They were freshmen one time. So understand that you can get knowledge from everyone. Don't hold yourself in a higher standard than the next person next to you. You don't know what you could learn. So we're going to go into another time of worship, and we're going to have the altar up here open. And I just ask a couple of the leaders for the guys and girls to come up. And if there's a thing that you need to open up about or talk to us about, an issue, anything, we're going to have that time up here. And then, we'll go into worship.
Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed the message. I hope that God used it specifically in your life. Regardless of what you're going through, I pray that He used it in your life. We would love for you to join us in person at Grace Student Night, Sunday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. See ya.